My name is Grace. I'm a film production major, and I have never really stopped playing dress up. When I was a kid, I used to love to play dress up or play pretend, and I used to do theater. My favorite part of it all were the dress rehearsals. I had this like woven bin of clothes that by the time I reached high school was just overflowing with like costume pieces, like capes and, witch hats. I think I only had one, but in middle school I basically stuck to recycling one costume. It was this Thor costume because I was obsessed with Thor and Loki, and like obsessed like in an embarrassing way. And looking back on it now, as a grown woman, I can appreciate Chris Hemsworth a lot, just not in the same way. You'd have to be blind not to appreciate Chris Hemsworth, but it was very creepy, a little over the top. In high school we had something called Spirit Weeks, and I thought it was the stupidest invention ever. It was right before the homecoming game. So basically there would be 5 days of themes for like things that you should dress up as, and I didn't participate in it initially, but I eventually came around and I used it as an excuse to break out like decade-old Justice clothes and just look like an absolute clown and still show my face. Also, I dressed up and came into school looking like an ancient Greek monster for a monologue project in one of my English classes. The only regret I have from that day was not getting a picture of it. I've planned themed costume parties to give myself an excuse to 1, dress up, and 2, make my friends do the same. My greatest accomplishment was a League of Legends LAN party. The past 3 years in a row, I have gotten awards at my campus ministry for the Halloween contests. I am the reigning Hallow Queen. 1 year for the contest, I dressed up as Billy from Stranger Things. It was really good. And I didn't budget my time well enough, so I had to go get food after I had already like put the costume on and did my hair and everything. And so I walked into Sabai, full Billy, right? And people were like looking and pointing and like being like, "Hey, nice costume," or whatever. Like it was all in good fun. It was fine. It was actually kind of a fun experience. A week later, when I walked into Sabai looking normal, like this, right? The lady taking my order looked at me and she said, "Oh, you're the girl who dressed up as Billy, right?" I didn't go back for like a month. But I did win Creepiest Costume Award that year, which I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little offended. My campus ministry also does this thing called Goodwill Good Times, where we go to Goodwill and we buy everything that we wear, and then literally just try to make ourselves look as much of a fool as possible. And so 1 year I did this like e-girl-esque look with mismatching pigtails. And again, I just cannot budget my time. I don't know, I've done this so many times, but I had to walk into Pershing to get food because I was starving, looking like this. And I kid you not, every single person in Pershing as I walked through that door turned and stared at me, except for 2 girls at a table in the corner. And not just like looking at me like, "Oh, weird." Like they looked at me. I was an RA at the time, and I ran into one of my fellow RAs and had to have an entire conversation with him while I looked like that. I'm definitely the type of person who was like a wannabe theater kid, but I decided to do varsity softball instead. What a duality. I was always worried that I would be seen as like the cringy kid, and to a point I feel like I was. Until my junior year of high school, when my friend group switched from like the quiet kids to like, not because I wanted to be like that, but they sort of showed me a different way to interact that was less awkward and more confident in my own self, and like, because my social interactions were awkward because I didn't feel comfortable. Because I always thought other people would see me as weird, so I didn't know how to not act weird because I was terrified of them seeing me as weird. It was a vicious cycle, but it ignited a sort of glow up in me, and I found that new confidence. And now in college, I have good, stable, and wholesome friends. Whenever they need like some kind of hype, or like someone to bring some energy or some pizzazz, a lot of times they'll ask me, and I'm always looking for a reason to put on face paint and shout, "Who is ready for a full retreat?" I'm sure my costumes wouldn't look so amateur if I learned actually how to sew and like craft things and learned how to make like frames for pieces for costumes. And I want to, But honestly, I struggle to get the simplest school assignments done now, so I just really don't think that that's something that I can pursue at this point in my life. Although I'd really like to at some point, you know. Why do I like this so much? I enjoy crafting and working on projects. I think at some level I believe that anytime I dress up, I enter a role that's sort of separate from myself, and I get like a new sort of confidence that I can't really muster in my own skin. It's like a high, like tasting the essence of another person's being, like a LaCroix. Like it's almost soda, but it's just it's like flavorfully essenced. I used to be afraid of how other people saw me, of making a fool of myself, but now I can expose a really embarrassing side of myself to strangers and not really give a shit. So, you know, time and growth are a beautiful thing. I think the most embarrassing thing of this whole film was the fact that I outed myself as a League of Legends player.